So you're probably thinking, why do I care about climate change? It doesn't bother me. In fact, as Donald Trump said, it'd be much better if the world got warmer. But in actual fact, that is not the case. Uh, so, the impacts of climate change, why is it important to you, and what do you need to know and be aware of? So, move myself to here. I'm going to be the sun. All right. So, here are the impacts of climate change. Now, right. So, apologies about that, folks. So, what are the impacts of climate change, and why is it important for you to know? So, a couple of things. There is a changing rain and snow patterns. So, in some areas, there'll be more rain, there'll be more snow, and on top of that, the storms might be stronger. Now, a good example of this is kind of Scotland and the UK. Over the past kind of 10 to 20 years, our storms and our kind of windstorms and rainstorms have increasingly got more powerful and are causing more damage. So next time you can will be a storm, or in my lifetime anyway, that didn't used to happen. Not until about, for me, to of remembering it was about 2010, so for me the last 10 years, but more like the last 20 years. What that leads is on to kind of more damage caused to houses, etc. People can't work because of the bad weather and loads of impacts. But for what we want to know, we need to know change in rain and snow patterns and stronger storms. What we also get is we get higher temperatures and more heat waves. So particularly in cities, we get higher temperatures, it becomes warmer, get more heat waves, and with that, although it sounds really, really amazing, we do get the increased risk of skin cancer from exposure to the sun too much. Think about when you go on holiday. What it also can lead to is the increased heat, is more droughts and wildfires. Now, 2020 has been a mental year, and if you're watching this in 2021, 2020 was a mental year. And actually, one of the forgotten things of 2020 was in January, huge parts of Australia were on fire because of a wildfire and drought, because it was so hot, it was so dry, a fire started and it caused millions of people to be evacuated, loads of homes to be destroyed, millions of trees burned to the ground. And remember, when trees get burned to the ground, they release carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, which then increases the amount of greenhouse gases in the air. So if it's getting warmer and we're getting more droughts and more wildfires, what's also happening is in the mountains and in the kind of north and south pole, we're getting less snow and ice. And if there's less snow and ice, what's going to happen to the polar bears is they're going to lose their habitat where they live. On top of that, all of that water that's stored as ice is going to flow into the sea and increase the amount of water in the seas, which is then going to lead to a rise in sea levels. And actually, if sea levels rise, I think it's about between 1 and 3 metres in the next kind of 100 years, there is 20 million people that are going to have to move house because they will be flooded, they will be underwater, including places like Florida and Miami. Also from there, we get fallen permafrost. So permafrost is when the ground is permanently frozen, and if it starts to thaw out and melt, all the houses that are built in these areas will collapse and sink into the marshland that's left. Also, the ice has stored methane in it, so when it starts to melt, this methane is reintroduced into the atmosphere, adding to the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. We've also then got damaged corals, which is wildlife for fish. The most famous one being the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. It's dying out, which means the fish that use this for food and for habitat will also end up dying out. Now, all of these are kind of interconnected in some way, and they all lead on each other and they're all impactful. Your task, and it is a difficult task, is to pick the top 9 and put them into a diamond 9 from 1 all the way down to 9. 1 being what is the biggest impact of climate change. Now that is the kind of easy part. You've then got to give reasons why you think that. So let's say, for example, I put damaged corals as the highest. My reason for that is because that I want to go and visit them in a Great Barrier Reef. Now that's a really rubbish reason, don't use that, but you've got to be able to say the reason you've put it as the most impactful or the least impactful is because of whatever reason. Alright, now hopefully that makes sense to you, but if it doesn't and you've got any questions, drop your question into the posts section of the team, and someone in here will be able to answer you and help you out. Alright,